Hey, welcome to our today's class. It's episode number 4 in connection with the online course which we started 2-3 weeks ago about the ABC of success in 10 steps with myself. And we are live at the moment with on Zoom audience, my colleagues, and with our new participant, and also on a Facebook Live. There are so many other new joiners on my Facebook page as well. Uh, so just quickly, I want to say the episode number 1, we did discuss what is about success mean, what is the criteria of success with everyone. So for everyone, the success is a different. Uh, we did learn 2-3 weeks ago, and then we did learn uh, about the step number 1, which was intention. The step number 1 of any successful person, what he or she is doing in the life, in a profession or in a life, as a partner, as a parent, as a sibling, as a community person, as a religious person, as a country person, citizen, villager, any role which we are performing, what is the intention we are going to fulfill in that role. So number 1 step is intention. We also call it mission, goal setting. So we did discuss in 3 weeks ago. And then the second step we did learn last week, basically, it was the enjoyment. If we are not enjoying our role in life as a wife, as a spouse, as a husband, as a colleague, as a employee, as a boss, as a citizen, then it means we are not in a right intention. So we need to go back in step number 1, and we need to change immediately uh, that what role we should be, or I need to change myself, or I need to change my environment so that I can enjoy, I can get the bliss from God, I can be very enthusiastic in my life, and not the brain drain state I want to do. So that was a step number 2 we learned last week. This week, today, we are going to step number 3, which is serviceability. And serviceability is, it's quite new, not a new topic, uh, but the term, the notion of service and discussion in the service is a little bit new, because we all, as a professional, we all are offering our services or our products. Yeah, even if I have some product, that is also for the service of humanity, for service of to fulfillment needs of other people, isn't it? So serviceability, everybody is doing. Even if I'm a dad, I'm a father, my service is offered to fulfill the needs of my home, household, my children, my partner, my parents, my probably the siblings. So that is my service. If I'm employee, if I'm a manager, if I'm in authority, I'm still offering the service. If I'm a parliamentarian, if I'm a politician, if I'm an accountant, if I'm an artist, if I'm a celebrity, if I'm in any role, still I am giving service to people in somehow. Uh, so service is in every area of our life. So, but we basically want to learn what service is mean actually. I want to share a very great quote uh, from my one of favorite author. His name, let me see, sorry, then we will read it as well. Where is gone? Yeah. So Rabindranath Tagore, he mention he was a great Indian and Bengali writer, and he was a poet basically. And these are the beautiful three lines. I will take it as a start of my class. He said, "I slept and dreamed that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted and behold, service was joy." So basically, service, when we are at job in any role, if there is an element of joy, which we learn in step 2, then it means we will be the best service provider. Uh, Not officially, not in a paid way, but it's a morally way. For example, if mom is feeding to her children, she is serving her kids, but their serving is beyond than the paid service, isn't it? So does not matter whether you are getting money from your service or not, you will be getting a lot of other things apart from the service. So that we will try to understand what exactly service mean is. So we are going to read a couple of paragraphs from the book. I have selected one of my most favorite and my life changer, my coach, Stephen Covey's book, Eighth Habit, couple of paragraphs. He was an amazing American guru, writer, um, and a great church serviceman as well. Also, my second book from my another favorite writer, Dr. David Hawking, the American greatest psychiatrist, and the spiritual leader as well. So we will learn his book, The Map of Consciousness Explained, also couple of paragraphs as well. So I'm very excited to learn about what service means. I believe my mostly audience are probably the housewife, or maybe unemployed, or they are business ladies or business men, or they are employees in many roles, or maybe just a simple without these roles as well, as a citizen of country, as a villager, as maybe in any other role. So no matter whichever role we are going, normally the coaches, they suggest every person is somehow live in 5 to 7 roles, major roles, as a wife, as a let's say as a daughter, as a citizen, as a religious affiliation based, as a linguistic based community server, as a neighbor, as a friend. Um, so these are the 5 to 7 major role, and everybody should have a defined goal, uh, and also the great intention to fulfill the needs of and demand of that role. Otherwise, we will have a poor relationship. Otherwise, we will have a poor interpersonal relationship, and that impact on our quality of peace on a personal level we have. So let's go and try to understand what serviceability means for fulfilling the ABC of success. The big question which David Hawking is saying, he's saying, consider, is it what you want to do actually needed by anyone? Is it truly a service to a world, to the world? That is a big question, whatever you are doing. So let's try to read it. And I would ask my colleague Jenny, she will start the reading for us.
Serviceability. Consider, is what you want to do actually needed by anyone? Is it truly a service to the world? You may want to make sure that what you are doing to throw yourself into is not just a pet project or personal preference. Raspberry vinaigrette salad dressing made be some chef's idea of hot cuisine, but that personal taste is not necessarily going to be shared by many in the populace, who may come into a restaurant once or twice out of curiosity and then never return because they just really wanted regular ranch dressing and it was not even an option.
Yeah, that's a great reading. So yeah, you can continue, Jenny.
We will notice that such a business, as a consequence, may become primarily for tourists and not appeal to locals because the demand is limited. It does not serve any real need other than just the idea of being cutesy, unique, or different. We can apply this step to any arena of life by asking ourselves, am I imposing my own pet preference, or is it something that actually meets the needs of the people I am relating to?
That's a great reading. Thank you very much. So if you see that Dr. David Hawkins is trying to say in quick 2 paragraphs, which just Jenny read for us kindly, that anything, if we like it, or I like it, or you like it, does not mean that it will serve the need of other. It may be very personal thing for me, and it does not relevant to the considerable amount of uh, quantity of other people as well. Okay, before I go to further, we have a guest. Lecturer today, Mr. Sheldon. He's a therapist. He's my friend. I did invite him today for talk about 15 minutes on therapy and some spirituality. So his name is Sheldon Reed. So he's with me, and he will talk about a couple of minutes with you, and then we continue our class today. So I'm just allowing him for today's. Oh, hello. Hello, Sheldon, my friend. Are you okay? You can hear me?
One sec. There we go. It works.
Oh, hello.
How you doing?
Excellent. Hi, very welcome, Sheldon. I was introducing you with my audience on the Zoom and also on Facebook about the Sheldon Reed will join us and will give his valuable um, thoughts and in 10-15 minutes about serviceability in connection with spirituality or so yeah, you can introduce yourself, and I'm giving a microphone to you, and you can speak with
Are you
them.
sure
They
you
can
want
ask.
to?
Yeah, I'm sure, because I have learned a lot of things from you. So I believe my audience will learn a lot of things from you as well. So it will be 10-15 minute just discussion. I mean, you will speak, and then if somebody has a question, so you can also unmute your mic to ask question from the Sheldon. And if somebody asks the question from Facebook page, then I will read it for you. So I believe your voice is going to Facebook as well, live as well. So yeah, over to Sheldon. Thank you.
Hi, Maritib, and hi, everyone. Thanks very much for the invitation today. I don't know how much of background Maritib has managed to convey in a short period of time, but Maritib and I met not that long ago, actually, and really hit it off from the very first moment. And it was very clear that we were sharing very similar paths, very similar experiences, and shared very similar beliefs, irrespective of our very different backgrounds. And it's been a pleasure spending time with you, Maritib, and I look forward to much more of it. Maritib shared with me the topic for today, which I speed read. And frankly, I think it's a fascinating topic, because the question, and forgive me if I'm misinterpreting this, but I'll just speak from my intuition. When I read the subject and I saw it was a question of serviceability in this material world, for me, in many ways, it's the key question for us, and it embodies our journey and our offering to the world, because what our offering is exemplifies where we are in our journey, which I think for me is, I can only speak from me, the only truth we know is the truth that we directly experience. For me, the journey is one from fear and lack and separation to oneness, abundance, and peace. And if one looks at one's offering and the serviceability of that offering, one can hopefully start to more clearly see how much of it is coming from a place of fear and lack and separation, and how much of it is coming from a place of a sense of oneness, abundance, and peace. So it's very difficult to separate this question of serviceability from what we are and where we are. And that journey in itself is one from an ego-based consciousness to a heart-based consciousness. And that in itself implicates that our service moves from a service to self to a service to others. Even though the service to others can still be egoic, but that's probably not for now. And it's been described as the hero's journey by many, Joseph Campbell being one, and a journey towards, of course, our own self-realization. And so much of life is a constant experience of expansions and contractions and births and deaths, where we are giving birth to something, essentially. We're giving birth to ourselves, frankly. And as that journey matures, then one hopefully becomes more proficient in balancing the two, the inner world and the outer world. And one of, I think, the most aspirational goals is to know one's own divinity, and bringing that divinity into this physical experience that we're having in human form. Others have described it as being a process of bringing spirit into matter, which is what we're doing. And of course, the psyche, which is a very divine and complex phenomenon, is multifaceted. And in our lower unconscious, we have our traumas and our repressions and difficult experiences that we have tucked away. We have our middle unconscious, which is the level of consciousness before it comes into our awakened consciousness. And we have our higher unconscious, of course, which is what connects us with divinity. And we access our creativity and our imagination, our altruism, our intuition, and of course, fundamentally, our love. And the way we are built really is on a spectrum of love and will, because will is a driving factor behind everything that we do. And as we evolve, we again become better at balancing our love and our will components of our psyche. And bringing it back to serviceability and what we do in life, I think that as one becomes clearer and one develops one's practice, then one can become more familiar with our decision making and how much of our decision making is based from a place of fear as opposed to love, as from a place of the head as opposed to the heart, and from what has been described as others as our concrete mind as opposed to our abstract mind. And the ego, which itself is multifaceted, at some point in the journey moves from functioning as being in service to the self to being in service to self. And the distinction there is self with a small s and self with a capital S. And until we become that self-aware, then the ego will be serving the external and our lower components as opposed to our higher components, even though that's a dualistic term. We only have language to use, so I apologize for any dualistic connotations from what I'm saying. And as Carl Jung said, of course, ideally, one spends the first half of one's life developing a healthy ego function, and the second half of life slowly dismantling that. It's all part of this hero's journey and this unfoldment and one large expansion and one large contraction from the outer to the inner. So again, it does what we offer the world is intrinsically linked to this. And at the same time, of course, for most of us, we live in the material world where practical matters must be dealt with. Unless, of course, one's awakening is so deep that all ideas of obligation and role and responsibility dissolve away, which can happen, and it has happened, but it is quite a rare phenomenon. And that is where I think enlightenment should be spelt with a capital E rather than a small e, because for most of us, enlightenment is a process of enlightening. And I define self-realization slightly differently, where one can realize one's divine nature in a flash, but that then leaves one with a very difficult matter of reconciling that with daily life and daily challenges. But I think that is an important point, because there's so much information out there. It's important to recognize where that information is coming from. And some of our greatest spiritual guides have lived in a different time, or they've lived under different circumstances. And most of us have practical life to deal with. Bills still come at the end of the month, and how one reconciles that with the human condition and the life challenges is what the spiritual journey is all about, because fundamentally everything is spiritual. And recognizing the challenges and the suffering as spiritual is an important part of our conscious evolution. And that requires us to raise our knowledge base and our belief system as far as we can to ultimate truth as best as we can, and act from that place. And of course, that comes back to serviceability. Our offering will change as that journey unfolds, and we can only do the best we can, listening to our intuition and following our heart. And there's a wonderful definition by a channeler known as Bashar. Well, he's actually called Darryl Anker. He channels an entity called Bashar. And he defines abundance as the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it. Because sometimes the things that we think we want are not necessarily the best things for us. And actually, I've examined that definition of abundance closely, and I can't disagree with it. So again, coming back to the subject of today and serviceability, I think some questions we can ask ourselves are, what are we solving for, and why? And where might one be on one's noble path? Right thought, right word, right deed. And how can we reconcile that with what we may be? Are we a renunciate, or are we a householder? And the experiences of both are different. And I think the teachings from both are different. And on the one hand, you have someone like Nisarga Datta or Ram Dass or Neil Donald Walsh, who do bring it into everyday life. And on the other hand, you have a Ramana Maharshi or a Ramakrishna, who, again, had extraordinary experiences, but lived in a circumstance and a time where their path was perhaps different to the dense energies of the Western modern contemporary world that we're in. And just to illuminate this by way of example, my own offering, which is the Path of One, or the pathofone.com, started at the beginning of 21 after many years of awakening. And when I look back how that offering started compared to what the offering is now, whilst very similar in many ways, was also extremely different. because at the beginning it was really an expression of what I wanted. Well, identity is a fundamental of what we are, and I was aware of a changing identity, and I wanted to express that changing identity in the world because I was mindful that I live in a physical world, and what I'm becoming at some point needs to be communicated. So there was a lower consciousness component to it and a higher consciousness component to it. And I expressed myself. But when I examined it further, I realized that that expression, even though it was coming from the right place, was still being egoically driven. And over time, I managed to shed that egoic need, or perhaps it was done and I was able to move on from it. I'm just thinking now. And I was able to connect more with actually, what is it that my fellow brother or sister actually needs? It's not what I want to express. It's actually, what do they need most? Doesn't matter what I am, where I am, or what I want to say anymore. It's what's the best thing that can help them. So this topic of serviceability, I can directly relate to how the pathofone.com has unfolded over 2 years from an expression of self and service of self with a small s to an expression and a service of self with a big S.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. The Sheldon is basically running a organization, running a business, a service from onepath.com, where he does serve the people from different approaches, from therapy to intellectual, psycho, spiritual, I mean, path or method of treatment or curement or a diagnostic. So it's quite different. So if anyone have any question or want to contact Sheldon for any concern, let me know. I will, at the end of my class, I will share his detail. And he's very right in the sense also that the service is basically the activity of higher consciousness, higher spiritual dignity, what we have or we intend to do. Because at the end of service, what do you get? Enjoyment, peace, serenity, calmness, love. So all these are the end result of service. And these all end results are referred to the dictionary in spiritualism as ingredient of spirituality. And the spirituality, so it does mean, like the Sheldon is saying, at the end everything is spiritual. So whether you are giving a service in this material world for sake of enjoyment, for sake of being in peace, it does mean you are going back to your origin where you started this journey in the world. When you were born in your parents' home, right from them there in this world, when you will die. And this death will also is not the death of yourself. In fact, it's a transcendent state from this world to another world. So whichever we are performing role as a dad, as a mom, as a wife, as a spouse, as a parent, as a children, as a citizen, as a service lady, serviceman, whatever role we are going, at the end, we must have ability to serve the humanity for a great purpose. And I will second one of the thought which Sheldon just mentioned, that the mostly great people who are referred in our world as a spiritual people, Basically, they were not spiritual. They were the service provider. They were providing the service to awakening the humanity, to awakening the people, to come out from our egoic mind, to come out from our material and falsehood, which we have constructed or which we have been taught as a construction in our world, is a giant construction. So, and at the end, when we deconstruct this construction which we have done, this deconstruction basically give you the meaning to serve the humanity at the end. Look at the Buddha, look at the Siddhartha Gautam Buddha. What did he do? He do 5,000 years ago around. He was born in a royal family. He was a prince, but he left all kingdom, and went into the jungle to find the God, to find the truth, to find why there is a suffering in the world, why there is so much pain in the world, why everybody is living egoic life. And when he found the answer, then he started to serve the humanity in the way that it is one of the biggest spiritual school in the world, in Europe, in America, in India, Asia, everywhere. Everybody is following the Buddha's teaching. Look at the Jesus Christ, what he done for the service to the humanity. He did everything. The Christ consciousness is the biggest service for humanity. And that's why the Christianity in this today's world is the single largest following in the whole world. Look at the Prophet Muhammad, what he did for the humanity. He basically introduced the oneness of the God, and that is also behind the message of serviceability in indirectly or directly, that we need to awaken for create oneness, and oneness will be only be created when we love each other. And when how we can show our love to each other, when we will give them perfect and the quality service in my role as a manager, as a boss, as an employee, as a mom, as a dad, as a parent, as a citizen, in any role. That is the significance of love which we have, and we can share with each other. That is a showing is if you see on the screen, the book which is my favorite, the Stephen Covey's The Eighth Habit, From Effectiveness to Greatness. He mentioned about the same serving uh, ability by giving the quality service to humanity. Uh, so I would ask my colleague, Cynthia, if she can read this beautiful quote, and we can continue this quick reading.
Using our voices wisely to serve others. I'm no longer a young man filled with energy and vitality. I've given to meditation and prayer. I would enjoy sitting in a rocker, swallowing prescriptions, listening to soft music, and contemplating the things of the universe. But such activity offers no challenge and makes no contribution. I wish to be up and doing. I wish to face each day with resolution and purpose. I wish to use every waking hour to give encouragement, to bless those whose burdens are heavy, to build faith and strength of testimony. It is the presence of wonderful people which stimulates the adrenaline. It is the look of love in their eyes which gives me energy. Oh, that's very good.
Yeah, excellent. And because that is a quote from the Gordon B. Hinckley, and he wrote this at the age of 92. When he was in age 92, he still have amazing passion to serve humanity, and he wrote this beautifully. And Stephen Covey quoted this in his book. And also Rabindranath Tagore, which I mentioned already, that is also quoted by Stephen Covey in the book. So let's go further. And
And
we
just
want
before you
to
do, Meritib, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that in the interests of serviceability, I have 3 young kids waiting for me to service them downstairs. So I might have to drop off now, but I would be delighted to invite any questions on this topic or broader topics that may have come up from brief chat earlier. Meritib knows where I am. And I'm really appreciative to be able to drop in today and speak to you guys.
Yeah.
So I wish you a good day. Enjoy the end of the rest of this talk. And I'll perhaps we'll speak again.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Sheldon.
Sheldon.
Sheldon,
Take care.
super fast. You said the pathofone.com is your site. Is it the
Yes.
path of number one or ONE? The
Good question. It's ONE, and I thought about that when I was registering it. Yeah, it's the path of one, all in just normal words. The path of one.
Okay, great. Okay, I'll check it out. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Have a
Yay.
good day. Take care.
Thank you, Mr.
All right,
Chair.
bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, thank you. So let's go further to dig out a little bit more quick, brief explanation about the service. So I would ask now our contributor, Sina Prasad, if you can start reading this.
Sure, Mr. Madhib. The inner drive to find your own voice and second, inspire others to find theirs is fueled by one great overarching purpose, serving human needs. It is also the best means of achieving both. Without reaching out and meeting human needs, we really don't expand and develop our freedom to choose as we otherwise could. We grow more personally when we are giving ourselves to others. Our relationships improve and deepen when together we attempt to serve our family, another family, an organization, a community, or some other human need. Thank you.
Excellent. It's a great reading. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So if you see that the Stephen Covey in this paragraph is referring his 8th habit, the 8th habit is the find your voice and inspire other to find theirs. And he's referring that is basically the notion to serve other, and how he is writing beautifully. I must it refer as a quote. If you see, we grow more personally when we are giving ourselves to other. Amazing. And you can see it when a mom is serving the whole family in the home, and even if she is doing a job or work as well. So tremendously she puts her effort to giving the much to the children, to the partner, and to the great contributor as a family person. Obviously, our relationship also improve in this sense as well. I would ask this quote, which also referred as by Stephen Covey. He says, "I believe that the rendering of the useful service is the common duty of mankind, and that only in the purifying fire of sacrifice is the dross of selfishness consumed and the greatness of the human soul set free," by John D. Rockefeller Jr. So that is also beautiful learning. So let's go further in the last phase of our today's class. That is a great quote from Nelson Mandela. And who does not know Nelson Mandela? Everybody knows Nelson Mandela. And of course, he was a great contributor, not to his Black community, but also to the other people as well. Uh, so let's read this. Let me greet some couple of people on Facebook Live. Hello, Rabi Hussain. Uh, Thank you for joining the session. Hello, Angos Kosi. Thank you for joining and you still watching us. Hello, Abdul Razak. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for watching. Uh, Manjurul Khan. Hello. Thank you very much. If you have more question and you want to ask or you want to discuss, you can also bring in front of the video as well, or you can put the comment below. I will read it for you, and then we can discuss as well. Uh, so let's come back to our Zoom screen. Uh, so I would ask Jenny if you can read this wonderful quote, which has a quite big explanation for the service as well.
Oh, good. And I love Nelson Mandela. I'm honored to read this. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself. The transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I please, and go where I choose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. That is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family loving husband into a man without a home. I am no more virtuous or self sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free.
Excellent, amazing reading and amazing expression you mentioned. Excellent, Jenny. Thank you so much. It has a big, uh, I mean, understanding about the to understand about the service ability. And we know everyone about Nelson Mandela and his life, for not only for South Africans, but also for the people in the world in many dimensions. Uh, Also, there is a great uh, what we call quote or saying from Nathan Eldon Tanner, which is also my one of favorite, that service is the rent we pay for living in this world for hours. So anybody can assume why I live in this world. Did I request to God that to make me born here? Uh, After all, I'm enjoying this world, isn't it? I love to live here. I don't want to die. Okay, if you don't want to die, my question to you: why you are living in this world? What make you living? Nobody asked you to born in this world, but you still living, and not even living. You are enjoying here. You have tremendous different sources of enjoyment, and why you are doing this all enjoyment without any giving back to the world, isn't it? That is a question. Is a very organic question. I can ask to myself. Anybody can ask themselves that why, if I'm living here, and if I'm living here with so much sources of enjoyment, let's say if I live here for 80 years, in 80 years, I must be smile and overjoy thousands of times. Now, the big question is what I'm giving back to the world. And the answer is service. Service is the rent we are living, we are paying, and we should pay in to live in this world. Nothing is free. Nothing is free. So that is just one of the thought I want to say. Let's go to the last paragraph for today, and then we will close our class. Uh, that is also what we call it quotation, is a quote from Willis Harman. So I would ask Cynthia if you can read it and finish our class.
Willis Harmon, the co-founder of the World Business Academy, expressed his conviction about the institution of business itself in these words. Excuse me. Business has become the most powerful institution on the planet. The dominant institution in any society needs to take responsibility for the whole. But business has not had such a tradition. This is a new role, not well understood or accepted. Built on the concept of capitalism and free enterprise, from the beginning was the assumption that actions of many units of individual enterprise responding to market forces and guided by the invisible hand of Adam Smith would somehow add up to desirable outcomes. But in the last decade of the 20th century, it has become clear that the invisible hand is faltering. It depended on overarching meanings and values that are no longer present. So business has to adopt a tradition it has never had throughout the entire history of capitalism, to share the responsibility of the whole. Every decision that is made, every action that is taken must be viewed in light of that responsibility.
Yeah, excellent. It's a great reading, Cynthia. So if you know that I personally think in this world, based on the last quote which we learned from here, from Willis Harman, uh, we even living in America or Europe, in UK, which are the highest and rich country in the world as compared to the other nation. Unfortunately, still we have a big lack of serviceability. I'm not saying that all organization, but probably 80% of our companies, small businesses, enterprises, big companies, organization, corporate world, government institutions, we all have terrible customer service, especially after COVID-19, where every second business is at threat of closing down, and they have reduced their customer service staff and the front people in the company, or even if they have, uh, they are engaged in other departments as well, uh, along with service, customer service. And of course, the quality of customer service has reduced uh, very badly. I must say, um, if you call any government institution, if you call any big company which you have already purchased um product or service, very difficult to that you will contact them. That's the number one thing. And if you are able to contact them over the phone, it means you are the one of the lucky person. And after that, your problem is still not solved. Mostly companies, they say, oh, please chat online, or please email us, and we will reply you after within 3 to 5 working days or within 10 days. Can you believe such a terrible service in this modern age? Um, and I'm not referring any one company in UK. It's all about everywhere in the world now. And and that has caused a lot of frustration in the world, to people in every country. And you know that what happening now in many big companies, in the reception desk, they have clearly written, we have a right to save us. We have a we have a right uh, to not to tolerate any threat from the customer. We have a zero tolerance against our staff. When you go to certain hospitals, when you go to special sensitive institutions or some big service provider companies, they especially mention on this reception. Have you seen it?
I was in
You-
customer service for 25 years, well, actually more than 25 years,
Yeah.
and it definitely has changed, but not only on the corporation or the business side, but on the customer side. Um, Customers have gotten truly obnoxious over minor things. I can understand some of the frustration they have, but customers have changed also.
You know,
Mhm.
I think there's a reason for that, is because of so many things, but one is actually technology, and we have too much, we have too much information now that's overwhelming to the public, and we didn't used to have this much accessible to ourselves. And there's also texting that's become very impersonal. There's the Facebook where you can go off on your news site and tell people off and whatnot. And then there's protesting. They're setting, things on fire, and people are like, yeah, that's what you should do. As we're changing into a new society, I think that too much information, it's just like too much drinking or too much eating will make you overweight, or too much of really anything is bad. Well, too much information is bad too, and it's overwhelming the public, and they're feeling a sense of I don't know, entitlement to be able to tell you off, and people are accepting that. And the insensitivity that we're experiencing right now is a transition to where before somebody would be rude in a line to the cashier and somebody would say, hey, don't talk to that person that way. But now you have someone behind you cheering them on, like, yeah, tell her she's a, blah, blah. And it's sad because we need to get back to the humanity, the people. We still feel the same. We still get hurt. We still need to be appreciated, and we still don't need to be treated in an ugly manner, but we are. So it's not just the customer that's changed. It's the response of the person in the line, or the service person. You call and you say, I need help with this. And the person's like, oh gosh, or they just transfer you over, or they're even rude to you because they don't care. And what's happening is we're becoming a society that does not care about one another. We're all about ourselves. And you have to be your best self to be 100 to someone else, or you can't help them. But you can't be all about yourself, because then you just won't help them. So there's got to be some sort of meeting of these two.
I agree on everything you just said. It's a changed world.
It's a very changed world.
But we can
Uh,
change it as an individual. We can be nice to the person. We can reset the
Right.
field. You can be that person that still says, hey, don't talk to them that way. Or, be a little patient with the person that's being rude to you on the phone, and kind of bring them back to humanity. Even that person that's been rude to the last 10 people that called your organization, asked for help, you just say, hey, I need your help here. And, with patience and calmness, and kind of reel them back in like you would, I'm from Alabama. I've done a lot of fishing, reel the fish in. It takes time, it's not going to happen right away. But,
yeah.
you have to do that. You have to reel people back in, because they're in this mindset of self. And it's so much self that it's just like absorbed into just them and no one else.
I think it is a slow recovery getting back to where we were, but at least we're trying.
Yeah, it is. It is. We are going back to recovery as well, um, but still, it's a big challenge for all business sector, for all service sector, all the production companies. Everywhere is the biggest challenge, and it is the biggest challenge for companies, for the government people to make them happy, not as a customer, but as a seller. If you like, Cynthia mentioned about the customers are also changed, uh, where uh, seller cannot do enough. Uh, so there must be seller protection as well. And because sellers are giving service, but if they are giving service to some difficult customer, or the customer which Jenny just mentioned, they have too much knowledge, already overloaded knowledge, uh, or information before they buy product, then the seller are very unprotected that uh, we have to refund them. And if we are refunding to half of our customer for some reason, then where our profit will go, where my company will go. So they are definitely undermined. For example, this is the big problem for small companies. Um, let's say if I start to sell, imagine uh, this calculator, yeah, if you can see, I got these 1,000 piece of calculator on Amazon, and let's say one calculator is £10. I'm selling it, and tomorrow my competitors start to selling the same calculator with more good feature in £5. Then my old sold calculator will be uh, coming back to me, and I have to refund them if they don't even like, even if they have found this calculator on a better price. Like on Amazon, if you buy something, you have the right to return, even if you got the better price, the same thing, which is very painful for small seller, um, because their bread and butter is depend on their these things, and they don't have too much capital to bear this or to uh, facilitate the customer. So that's why what happened, they will be angry on customer. They will not issue refund easily. They will resist the customer. And of course, the big thing is there is no serviceability uh, from the seller point of view because of the difficult customer. And and that's will metastasize. It will spread like a fire in the jungle in many in the industry, in the business field. Um and this will create frustration with to the business owners. And also, if the customers are not happy, they will leave a very terrible reviews on the customer to the seller website. um, and also that customer frustration will transfer into their family, because the unhappy customer is an individual after all, and that individual unhappiness will be shared to his or her family, spouse, or in the office. They will be upset because they did not get the refund because of this issue from the seller, because that seller didn't give the partial or full refund, or blah blah, or they have a hard feelings or something, that will transfer. And we have a millions of billions transaction in every country in this capital economy, and that this will be like a ripple of disturbance in our ocean if we throw one brick or stone in the water. So whole world will be in this thing. And that's why if you see the Microsoft, Google, Apple, whatever their customer service is going a new style, the old medium and small size businesses, they try to copy them. Uh, and but of course they cannot copy. Uh, and the same thing if Apple and Microsoft, if they have a poor customer service, uh, so we can imagine that what will be the level of serviceability in the medium or low level, low or small size of businesses all across the world. So, like the Sheldon earlier, who was a guest speaker for today, he mentioned about the importance of higher consciousness. I believe the seller or the business owner or the decision makers of any business, if they have a higher consciousness, and if they have planned the business with proper serviceability agenda, then will be more successful businessmen in the long term. Other than in our UK world, I give you a rough figure. Around 95% businesses, small businesses, they've closed down within next 2 years. So every small business closed down after 2 years because of many reasons, but one of the big reason that they could not satisfy their customer because of, like Jenny is mentioning, they are over information or overloaded info customer. They are very demanding customer. They have too much high expectation, uh, because if they have they have received the customer service from Apple or Microsoft or Google, they expect the local shopkeeper should give me this standard of customer service as well. There I will say, I don't like your service. Give me full refund. And a seller will not happy to see it. And of course, there will be a heat talk between both uh, customer and the seller. So it's a big thing. That's why this topic is so important for today, that before starting any business, or if we are employee and our role is more service related, then we should have a serviceability skill. Without serviceability, we cannot enter in an age of wisdom, which at the moment we are in age of wisdom. Wisdom cannot be without service capacity which you have. Otherwise, you have to find something else, not as a business owner, not as a terrible boss. We don't want to see you. So that's it. I think we can also discuss a lot of things. But anyway, um, going forward for next week, this is a topic for next week. Step number 4 in ABC of success: aesthetics. How aesthetics play the role in making you successful, in making your life in a successful as a being person. So aesthetic is our next topic as a step number 4. If you like our today's class, please like it, subscribe it, and there should be my YouTube channel link. You can join it, and where you will find a lot of life-changing content. Um, I'm your host, Marathib, and I believe these 60 minutes every week on Sunday will bring amazing quantum change in your life, uh, but gradually. But but the big challenge is you need to keep in touch so that you can feel the change in yourself. And my mission, my intention is to facilitate the like-minded people who are the leaders who want to excel in their roles. I could provide them lifelong self-education study circle, and that's what we are doing. Thank you so much for joining me and giving me your valuable time. I will see you next Sunday, same time, with our next topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Meritive.
you,
Everyone have a good
Sina.
week.
Thank you.
Hi, Sina. Thank you for
Bye.
coming.
Again, thank you, Cynthia. Thank you.
Good luck, Jean.
Oh, thank you. Have a good week.
You too. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Great week ahead.
Thank
Wow.
you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Facebook joiners, and see you next week as well. All